thank you so much for joining us, Carol and Karen. Tell us a little bit about your journey. What's led you to have such passion around helping leaders develop compelling reputations and professional brands? So let's start with you, Karen.
Thank you, Linda. You can do my introduction every day of the week. Uh, when I plucked up the courage to start my own business, it was 2015. I'd done the corporate grind for 20 years, and I was blown away by the support and the belief that others had in my future success that I particularly possibly lacked in myself. I'd even put off the decision to start my own business for 2 years. And this insight led me to create the marketing agency Reputation by Design. And as Linda said, we specialize in proactively amplifying the reputation of businesses and helping them to become multi-award winners. And while the main benefit of our services is increased trust, credibility, and ultimately its revenue, it's the added bonus that's even more meaningful to my why, and that's igniting confidence in business owners. There's nothing like, winning awards and accolades and getting that positive feedback to ignite your self-belief and quiet the negative self-talk. And Linda talked about those statistics of women. We own and run 40% of small businesses, but we only win 13% of awards internationally. So it's that transformative power of journeys that remain a constant source of inspiration for me every day. When our clients win awards, and particularly women, we hear what it means to them. We hear it quieting that negative self-talk that, I'll be ready next year, I'm not good enough goes away. And they're like, shit, I can do this. I am doing this. And that transformation for me is everything. That's why I do what I do.
I love that. Thank you so much. And Carol, what about you? Tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you to have such passion around developing compelling reputations and personal and professional brands.
Okay, well, in 2008, three of my 55-ish-year-old executive friends lost their jobs. Not a surprise. A lot of people lost their jobs in 2008. But what was the surprise was that a year after losing their jobs, they each reported to me independently, I guess I've retired. I'm going, what is that about? I really didn't understand until in 2011, due to a corporate downsizing, I lost mine. And it was then that I realized what had happened to my friends. They lost heart because they had the wrong strategy. They were still in the mode of sending out resumes on beautiful paper with the font du jour. And the market looking to hire all of those executive recruiters were looking on LinkedIn. And they had not leveraged LinkedIn. And it was then that I realized what an important part of career resilience a LinkedIn profile plays.
Yeah, I love that, Carol. That's such a powerful story and really explains your why beautifully. And for better or for worse, in today's world, everyone is a brand. Whether you're applying for a job, asking for a promotion, or meeting with prospective clients, your success is going to depend on getting others to recognize your value. So how can leaders get comfortable marketing themselves and recognizing that they are the brand in addition to the company that they represent? So Carol, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, there are two quotations that always come to mind in regard to this. One is from my friend, Louise Griffith. Her book is You Are Worthy. And her quote is, if you don't honor your own value, who will? And the other quote is from our friend, Jeffrey Hazlett, who is the chairman of the C-Suite Network. And his quote, with a few changes, is, it's not bragging if it's true. So those are things that I just start out with, is sharing with people, hey, it's okay to talk about this honor that you got, this award, this publication, whatever it is. It's okay, because actually we need to have other people celebrate with us. That's what friends do, is they celebrate success. The
Yeah, I love that, Carol. And I will say that, listen, in most industries, it's a very crowded marketplace, especially on social media. There are 100,000 leadership coaches. There are 100,000 advertising agencies or social media groups, or name the sector. And there, it's glutted with competition. So you have to find a way of differentiating yourself. You have to create distinction among parity or very like businesses. So, being able to have an incredibly strong personal or professional brand and a stellar reputation helps with that. It helps you distinguish yourself from everyone else. So, Karen, I can't wait to hear from you. I think you would agree that in today's world, everyone is a brand. So, how do you help leaders get comfortable marketing themselves as well as their business as a brand?
Yeah, so two things again come to mind. So if you can reframe that self-promotion as a value communication. So instead of viewing the self-marketing as bragging, think about it as clearly sharing your experiences and unique perspectives that can add value. So benefiting others. So this is a shift in mindset, and it can make what we term self-promotion, which feels a bit icky, feel more authentic and much more purposeful. I kind of shortcut that in Australia to say, kind of get over yourself. You are there to benefit others. It's not actually about you. And in some cases that can be a real gift. And, if you're holding on to your gift and not sharing that with others, how selfish can that be? So the shortcut in Australia is get over yourself, but really it's about sharing that gift. That approach also aligns self-promotion with service, so making it feel a lot less self-centered. And the second tip that I have is practice storytelling. So learn to articulate your achievements and experiences through compelling stories. Stories will always win in communications, and narratives are much more engaging and memorable than lists of achievements. And it makes, again, your self-promotion much more natural if it comes with a story of the how and the why, particularly the why, and much more impactful.
Oh my gosh, Karen, what great advice. I love that. And I would also say that if anyone is interested in really doing that story mining and really understanding what your story is and how to craft a whole library of keynotes based on your own story of transformation and triumph, come see me, because we have many, many experts in Leadership Global that can help you create a compelling personal story that propels your brand forward. And in fact, Karen, the process to creating that compelling personal brand seems to be an intentional, sort of strategic practice in which you craft and express your own value proposition. So I understand that a smart first step might be to define your purpose by exploring what your mission is, what your passion is, what your strength is. That is the foundation of that story. And begin thinking about who you want to work with in order to make an impact and how you want to make that impact. So let me start with you, Karen. How can leaders begin that process of thinking through their purpose by exploring their mission, their passion, their strengths, and really identifying who they want to work with?
Yeah, so Carol and I compared notes before this presentation, and we actually came up with one killer question that was exactly the same. So independently came up with this. And that question is, what do you want to be known for? So we use that question all the time when we're choosing awards for our clients. It's my favorite question because it kind of starts with the end in mind. So not where you are today, but what the end in mind and that bigger purpose or that bigger goal. And further to that, and I know Carol's got some killer insights as well, but I'd also encourage you to explore the passions and the why. So list the activities that energize you in your business, but also personally. Identifying the causes or the issues that you care deeply about, and even taking it a bit higher level, consider what you do if money weren't a factor, and then think about, your mission and your passion and your strengths from that higher purpose, and start to articulate it from there. And that'll give you some insights that perhaps you don't have if you just sat down to write a mission statement from scratch.
Oh, such great insight. Thank you so much, Karen. And I know you said that you and Carol kind of compared notes, but Carol, anything else that you want to add about helping leaders define their purpose by exploring their mission, their passion, their strengths, and who they really want to impact, who they want to work with?
Okay. When I begin to work with somebody, they're usually pretty skittish about, oh, I don't know, all that personal brand stuff and unique value proposition and purpose and mission. And I thought we were just going to do our LinkedIn profile. So I start with, what are the 3 things you want to be known for? Just 3, not 6, not 5, just 3, because 3 is so powerful. And when we can articulate things in groups of 3, people remember them. So that's a huge building block. I ask people, what are their differentiators or their superpowers? What is it that they do uniquely well that someone calls on them for all the time? They are the go-to person for this. So we find out what their differentiators are. I ask them who their primary client is, and then we put that together with their keywords, and we can create a headline that really sparkles, an about section that eventually I do get into asking about purpose and passion and principles, so we can put that in there. But, we've warmed it up with all these easier questions and kind of backed into it. And then we also can create their skills section so much more effectively, so that, it's a building block approach.
Yeah, I love that, Carol. That's really smart and less intimidating for people who are still sort of uncomfortable about
Yes.
creating a personal brand. So that's really smart. Begin with baby steps, right? And a big part of creating a dynamic reputation and a strong personal brand is to embody your brand by paying attention to the messages you're actually sending in every single interaction, whether it's an email or a social media post, or whether it's an event like this. And then to very intentionally communicate your brand consistently through speeches, through social media, through the press, through emails, through your website. So, how would you recommend that leaders begin to map out a plan to strongly exemplify and communicate their personal brand in a consistent manner? So, Carol, I'm going to ask you to keep on keeping and help us understand what you do to map out a plan to strongly exemplify and communicate a professional brand and a strong reputation for the leaders you work with.
Okay, so LinkedIn is kind of the beginning point. So I'm not going to get into all of the speeches that we could give. I'm going to focus on how every utterance that we do on LinkedIn and in person and in public and all those ways is a touch point with your brand. And that you have to be clear about what's on brand and what's not. I like to talk about brand as 3 key words. Kind of think about an equilateral triangle and put a word that reflects your brand on each vertex. the vertices of the triangle. The things that you might say, you can decide, would that fit inside the triangle or is that outside the triangle? If it's outside the triangle, you don't say them. It just doesn't carry the same weight. So it is a way to, at the beginning point where people are talking about or thinking about brand, because they've never thought about brand when they come to me. It's like, is this consistent? So my 3 words are kindness, expertise, and excellence. If what I'm going to share doesn't fit within my triangle, I don't share it. So that's a way that I work with people who are on the beginning of their brand journey.
I love that. And Karen, what about you? How would you recommend that leaders begin to map out a plan to strongly exemplify and communicate their personal and professional brand?
Yeah, so as you've both said, I mean, every touch point, even invoice messaging, price increase messages can influence client retention, how you answer the phone, how your team does the same, even your email signature, the quality of your merchandise. I mean, tells people about the brand quality. So we recently did an exercise, even on our brand, with post-it notes on a whiteboard. And the tactile nature of this exercise is really powerful. But we literally audited and wrote a post-it note down for every touch point, every touch that a client can have with our brand, and put a post-it note for that. And you can go really deep. So again, a client receives an invoice. So what about that invoice can a client see or feel or read? So it can be the subject line, it can be the message of the actual invoice due. It can be a message prior to that. So, hey, how was your holiday, etc. So you can go really deep on that. But taking the time to map that out, and it does require some time out of the business, I guess, to work on the business to do that, and some really focused time is super, super important, because you can identify the good touch points, possibly the bad touch points, and the missing opportunities. And we found some really kind of missed opportunities where we could level up and really amplify what we were saying to our clients, what we weren't saying to our clients, and where we could even pull apart some messages because we were putting too much in even one email, and pull them apart to 2 separate messages so they were single-minded, and making it much, much clearer for the client. Miro also has some free templates. And I would also suggest that it's good to get an outside facilitator to stress test your business, because this is business transformation. This is really, really important for retention. And we believe that acquisition starts with retention in your business, but also for acquisition as well. So there's an acquisition flow to this too.
So let me ask about something you noted there, Karen. You said, we went through this exercise and we uncovered some really impactful but overlooked opportunities to reinforce a brand. So can you give us an example of something that might be really eye-opening to our audience about, oh yeah, I never thought of that as being an opportunity to showcase my brand? You mentioned invoices, which is beautiful, but was there something in that exercise that you did that allowed you to say, okay, not only are we creating too many messages in one communication vehicle and there's just too much going on, but there are also some opportunities to reinforce that brand in ways that we haven't thought of?
Yeah, so things like when we ask for a Google review. So we ask for a Google review. We're almost at 200 reviews. We're like 195. So if anyone wants to leave us a Google review, feel free. So asking for a Google review, we say thank you, but what's the follow-up to that? So we actually then offer to leave if we've been doing business, obviously we have, we've been doing business with this client, we offer to leave them a LinkedIn review as well. So what's the value add? So we're not just asking, we're giving always at the same time. Linda gave the example again that I'd previously given. So we were putting all of this information into one email because it served us at a functional level, so at an operations level. And we looked at it, we twisted that around, and we looked at it from a customer receiving level. And we went, that's too much information. How are they going to absorb that? What's their takeaway? They need that information drip fed to them. That would be much more, from their own capacity to do something with it, that would be much more doable. And we actually broke that down into 3 email messages. So step 1, step 2, and step 3. So what we had done, being very vulnerable, is looked at our emails from an operations perspective and not from a client receipt perspective.
I love that. So let me ask you, Carol, just like in the commercial world, a brand actually doesn't have any value unless people are aware of it, right? So that's step number 1, crafting your intention around a brand, but then absolutely amplifying the visibility of that brand. So to increase your visibility, we often suggest creating a stakeholder map, a simple list of people who want to know, or people who can help you advance your mission and vision. So people that you think need to know about your business, or people that you believe can help advance your mission and vision. And that is a great way to clarify and highlight how others might be able to advocate for you. So how have you built your global network and use stakeholder maps or studies like that in the past? And Carol, we'll start with you and then move on to Karen.
Okay, so I'm kind of new to that. What I do when I'm thinking of an initiative, I think of the people that can help me with that initiative, and I write them down and then, work from there. I've never used a map technology like that, so that's exciting. But when I'm working with senior level leaders and I'm talking to them about visibility, one of the things that's so important is, if you expect your posts on LinkedIn to get any visibility at all, you have to give first. You have to create that relationship with people that will cause them to see your stuff and to think about commenting. So the first step that I do when we are talking about visibility is having them think of who are the top people they need to pay attention to. I have them ring their bells on LinkedIn. I have them go to their profiles and see what with their recent activity, and to comment in a very specific way that will give that person the feeling that you have really embraced what they said. So, about mapping, not so much, but in terms of intentionality and raising your visibility before they start their own, thought leadership campaign where they're going to post their stuff, they need to have an audience on LinkedIn that's all warmed up to them. And the way to do that is to give first.
Absolutely. I love that. And Carol, even though you may not be utilizing stakeholder maps, that is something that we suggest at Leadership Global, but you are absolutely one of the most prolific and successful networkers I've ever met in my life. You have built a phenomenal global community of fans, raving fans, and advocates and champions for your work. And just being able to know, how do you begin that process? How do you begin that process of identifying who is a potential client that really needs what I have to offer? And then secondly, who can advocate for me? Who can advance my mission and vision? Just being able to identify those people as your core group is really, I think, important. And you've done that brilliantly as a way of really highlighting who needs the services that you provide and what can you do to build that community of people around you that are raving fans, because you've got legions of them, Carol. So
Thank you.
yeah. So, Karen, let me ask you, how have you built your global network? And have you used stakeholder maps or some sort of study of the groups of people that you want to influence to help build your business?
Yeah, so we have a business coach here, and he uses with us it's called a partner wheel. So if you can imagine a circle cut up into sections, and within those sections, you choose industries of sectors that people that deal with your ideal client before you and after you that are non-compete. So for us, some examples might be printers. So we've got some incredible printing partnerships. So we do graphic design as well. And so we've got, a segment of our wheel is printers. Another segment is actually marketing agencies, because we do a section of marketing, but we don't do everything. So we partner up with marketing agencies. So think of a circle, cut it up into segments, and you can put different industries around that of companies that deal with your ideal client before you and after you in the value chain, but that don't compete with you, and brainstorm and brainstorm and brainstorm. We did this for a client recently, and we came up with 50 different types of partners. So not just companies, but industries, if you like, that they could go out and reach for stakeholders. So that stakeholder map, or what we call a partner wheel, can be a really great tool. I think Carol's doing it organically. She just hasn't called it a stakeholder map. But that partner wheel, as we call it, can be super, super, just a structure, a framework or a tool to help your creativity flow. And then we categorize those stakeholders on level of influence, level of interest. Possibly for your business, it might be geographic location, and obviously sector and industry. Then from there, what we've done for our business is we've developed some engagement strategies. So once, we prioritize the clients, we'll tailor a communications approach for each stakeholder group and plan some outreach activities. So we've got a partnership with a consulting companies, so a business consultancy in the UK, and we do a referral fee with them. So we give them a small referral fee for each converted client. We have just kicking off a partnership with a US women's group, and that will be a revenue share partnership. So there are different structures, I guess, to those. A lot of them are organic as well. So we have a heap of business coaches that we partner with, and there is no exchange of money on those. But for the very, very, very large ones, they're usually revenue share or referral fee.
I love the idea of a partner wheel. I think that is just brilliant, because both of those tools, whether it's a stakeholder map or a partner wheel, are really designed to just tap into that creativity and that resourcefulness. It also creates clarity. It actually creates sort of the foundation of a referral network for you. Who are the people that can advocate and champion my business as I do theirs? And who is it that I want to serve that need my services? So it's a clarifying tool, but it's also one that can spur on creativity and resourcefulness. So I love that. Partner wheel or stakeholder maps. It's really just, they are tools in your tool belt to be able to really clarify not just your brand, but the visibility of your brand and how you want to grow that. So
can I just add on to that as well? You can use AI to help that creativity as well. So I would jump on Claude and say, this is my business, give it a really good description, and ask them for stakeholders or clients around that, and see what they come up with as well. I think that would be an interesting exercise.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. Any way that we can leverage AI to make our work more effective and more efficient, I'm all for. So let me ask, both of you have mentioned that when you're developing your brand, it's essential to be you. It's incredibly important to be authentic and genuine. And between Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and so on, we document so much of our lives on social media. It seems as though, everyone is posting and sharing and disclosing parts of their lives that a generation ago would have been considered to be your private life. And our private lives have now become public. So creating a persona is not really an option. It really is about being consistent to who you are, what your principles are, who you are authentically and genuinely. So how can you be sure that your social media personal profiles reflect your reputation and the professional brand that you're trying to build? And what mistakes do you see most often? So for this, Carol, I'm going to start with you because I'm sure you see lots of mistakes. But again, so much our lives are being documented now from the time we were teenagers till we're in our 50s. And of course, we change and evolve as people, but we want to be authentic. We want to be genuine. We want to be essentially who we are. But we also want to make sure that over time that what we're documenting in our life lines up really well with who we are trying to create in terms of the personal brand, the professional reputation in our lives as well.
So absolutely. One of the things that I do at the end of any LinkedIn consultation is talk about LinkedIn etiquette. What is okay? What is not okay? Now, most of my clients are older, and so they are not as likely to be posting pictures of their lunch on LinkedIn. But, there are those people that do that, and that doesn't fit with the vibe. And so I really share with them, you can still be you, but some things we don't want to know about.
Yeah.
I even talk about the idea of on Facebook, you can post a picture of your son playing Little League and, at bat. And you can write all about that. On LinkedIn, if you were going to do that, you would need a business purpose. What is it? How can you tell the story about resilience, about, courageous moving forward, even though you were hurt in the last game or whatever. But, there needs to be a business purpose. So I just try to sensitize people to what is appropriate for the given platform that you're on.
I love that.
Yeah, it's not that you're not authentic, but it is realizing what your audience is and what they're expecting to hear from you at this time as we are on YouTube.
That's right. Every single social media platform is slightly different. They all have different uses and they all have different sorts of personalities, really. Facebook's very different from LinkedIn, which is very different from Instagram. So I love that you're pointing that out. And then, Karen, what about you? How can you be sure that your social media persona reflects your professional reputation and your professional brand?
Yeah, so similar to Carol, we manage social media clients, social media channels for our clients. Here in Australia, we set content pillars within which we post content. So they are topics which, and if something falls outside of those topics, then we don't post it. And we're really clear with our clients when we do the strategy up front with them. So if their pillars are around women's empowerment, education, and one other, then and they want to post something else, then we have quite a firm talking to them about that. Maybe it's lunch or it's something crazy. There has to be a very, very good strategic reason why we would do that. So the content needs to add value and not just be filler, what we call filler content. The biggest mistakes we see, selling. No one likes to be sold to. This is about adding value, and we do still see, even just as I'm scrolling my LinkedIn feed or Facebook, etc., we see a lot of selling posts. And the second mistake I'd say is, and I'm sure Carol would see this all the time, neglecting to engage with your audience or respond to comments and messages. That's taking, not giving. So you need to respond to everyone that's been kind enough to leave you a comment or message, and do that in a really timely manner. So neglecting to engage with your audience is a huge mistake we see.
Oh, so smart. I do want to leave some time so our audience can ask questions or make comments. So to wrap up our discussion, let's ask one final question, which should be just a real quick top of mind response from both of you, extraordinary experts. So what is the best leadership advice you've ever received? This is Leadership Global, and I would love to tap into the expertise and experience of both of you, Karen and Carol. So what is the best leadership advice you've ever received that you'd like to pass on? Karen, let's start with you.
I've got two thoughts. If you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. My mum taught me that, so always ask the question. And the second one, probably Linda has really reinforced this one to me, always be of service.
Thank you. Gosh, that makes me feel wonderful. So thank you, Karen. What about you, Carol? So what's the best leadership advice that you've ever received that you'd like to share with the audience?
Okay, so this one is a quote that is often attributed to Oscar Wilde. It's be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.